welcome to 30, Flirty, and Nerdy. My name is Juliana, and today I have Jonathan Barber here with me. Johnny has been in my life for 11 years now, so I have graduated him from friend to best friend, and if you're watching on video, you see his little reaction there. But he's been in my life for a very long time, and we've been really good friends, best friends since, and I am best friends with his wife. And I'm excited that Johnny has agreed to come on this podcast because this podcast is very much like my little diary. I love to have my friends and people in my life that I know to talk about life, talk about 30s, and just something to look back on for myself. And, you know, for those listening in, you get to meet really cool people. And Johnny is a really cool person. Johnny is someone that has been a military brat, traveled around the world, lived in Japan for like 13 years, lived in different areas of the world. And we met at Weber State University back in 2011. So, yeah, 11 years. More than 11 years.
Yeah, it'd be 12 this year.
Holy
Well, it is 12
shit.
this year because it would have
That's a
been
long time.
like the fall semester.
Yeah, that's a long time. And so we've known each other since we were babies, and now we're adults and been through a lot of shit together. And if you ever watched the episode with Jackie, Johnny's mentioned this is Johnny. He introduced me and Jackie. So all of us have been friends around that same time. So yeah, so this is Jonathan, and Jonathan lives in Utah, and he's a designer engineer, which is pretty cool. And he doesn't think it's very cool, but I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, we're just gonna be here talking about life, talking about how 30 is, because Johnny's about 2 years older than me. And so yeah, and also fun fact for those that don't know, that only Johnny and I know, is that when I was coming up with the idea of the name for the podcast, Johnny helped me come up with the nerdy aspect, which is totally me and totally perfect. 30, flirty, and nerdy. Like, how can it not be any more perfect? Thank Jonathan for the brilliant idea. So thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, that's actually the only reason why I'm on here is because payment for thinking of the name.
Not really, but yes. Anyway, Johnny, would you like to kind of introduce yourself? I introduced you as I know you. Can you introduce you as you know you?
I don't know a lot about me. I'm Jonathan Barber. Johnny, as a lot of people call me, because throughout high school, 3 syllables was too long of a name. As Juliana mentioned, I'm a military brat. I did 13 years in Japan and 3 years in Germany. So a lot of my life before 30, I was overseas, like literally spent the majority of my life outside of the United States. I am a design engineer. I design right now steel structures for refineries and stuff. I used to do water treatment plants. I went to school for design. I actually got to use my degree.
Which is amazing because not a lot of people could say that.
Yep. But been married since 2018 and minored in Japanese because, to go along with the fact that I lived there for so long, because I was like, if I live there, I gotta at least try to learn it. And hobbies I have, there's a bunch of hobbies I have, and I don't know if those are worth mentioning.
Yeah, mention your hobbies. They're very nerdy, so it's perfect for the
Oh,
podcast.
that is true. Yeah, I enjoy watching NASCAR. I enjoy Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon. I got a slick computer set up right in front of me, built my computer myself, the whole shebang. With help. There's no way I could have done that first time by myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you so much for coming on today and just for chatting with me and talking about life. I appreciate you.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, it's kind of okay, so this is kind of a really interesting interview because Johnny and his wife and I, we had a group chat and we talk literally every single day. And so it's asking different questions that I could just ask him on the day-to-day basis. I'm like trying to come up with some really fun ones that I don't know yet. But for those that are listening and don't know Johnny, I think one of the questions that I would want to ask you first is what got you into doing your career now? So how did you decide to go into a designing degree for your career? And you recently just got a huge promotion and new job, which is amazing. So like how did you start from working where you were to where you are now? Because I know people were probably in your life doing the same thing and want to change and career paths and things like that.
So back shortly after I graduated high school, my initial intention was to want to work for NASCAR. I had been a fan of NASCAR ever since I was little, which was very, very weird considering no one else in my family was. I always wanted to work for NASCAR. And then when I kind of realized how difficult that was, or how, especially living overseas and not having any connections, I decided, it'd be better to actually kind of work towards doing like automotive engineering, working on cars. And I learned a bit about cars back near the end of high school. After I graduated high school, I started going to school at the community college that the military offers for everybody, not just military personnel, and got an associate's there, got a Japanese certificate there, and after after the time that I finished it, I realized automotive engineering is pretty narrow. So if I just go into mechanical engineering, that's really a lot more broad. I'm not just putting myself in one basket of working on cars when I can John Deere tractors or water treatment facilities. So I transferred to Weber State University where I met Juliana, and I started pursuing my mechanical engineering degree. One of the requirements for the mechanical engineering degree was a CAD class, or computer automated design. And after taking that class, just one class, I went, I'm changing my degree. Absolutely loved it. Loved doing it, loved making these parts in 3D and seeing the real world version of these and going, I can be the guy that makes those. And like I said, immediately switched to my degree and worked towards 3 or 4 years or however long it ended up being of design engineering. And so near the end of actually graduating, I got some contacts through the school that said, hey, there's a couple companies looking for employees, and I put in for a company that did water treatment design, and the rest is history.
That's cool.
So
I actually didn't know that part.
yeah, it's a really, really good thing, because a lot of people when they go into school, they're not exactly sure what the heck they want to do.
Mm.
And for me, it went from like one thing to a narrowed thing to a much more broad thing, back down to a narrowed thing again.
It's kind of cool though because you had an initial idea, which not a lot of people do. They don't have that initial idea. When I went in, I thought like, oh, I want to do what was it, graphic design, and then it's like I don't like being graded for my art, and so I wanted to do something that helped people, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to go for my own college career. But your college career was really interesting because you did go broader and then narrow again, but you went broad in the sense that you got to try different things. You got to try different classes. And the class that you really love the most, you're like, wait, I want to do this as my career. This is amazing. This is so cool. And you built water structures and things like that for what, the city or other like
It
what was it for? Like that's really cool.
So when I was working for this company that did water treatment facilities, it was predominantly for power industry. So there was a lot of power plants actually down southeast. So a lot of power plants needed water treated because they use the water to house like coal and everything, because they do something. Once they burn the coal, they mix it with water to store it. So we clean that they clean that water up. So there's a lot of power plants in like Georgia, Alabama, Virginia that we did a lot of stuff for before I ended up leaving. Now I'm working for a company that's much smaller that predominantly works with like oil refineries. Right now there's a job we're doing with gold, like gold refinery. And I'm essentially just designing like steel structure, which is very different than what I had done before, but in the same realm of still designing, but learning all the rules for this type of designing is a lot different.
Is it kind of like going back to school again because you're kind of in a new like a new area of building?
Not really. It feels very similar to when I first started working at my original company, in that I know how to design, but I don't know how to design this stuff. And there's its own set of rules, and I need to learn those rules. For instance, like when I first started designing at the first place, at the water treatment place, I had learned how to design water piping. And then from then I learned how to make specific pieces of equipment. And then after that, they asked me, hey, can you look into learning how to do design for instruments and controls, which is a lot more electrical based. And I was like, oh, I have no idea how to do any of that, but I guess I'll give it a try. So it's been, a trial by fire every single time. Not trial by fire, but like trial of new every time. I always tell people, when it comes to being a designer, when I went to school to be a designer, I learned how to design, but not how to design something specific, because designing a water treatment facility is completely different than designing IKEA furniture, but they're both a designer. So understanding how to design is only a core for learning how to design whatever it is you're actually working on. Like for my senior project, I learned how to design musical instruments.
Yeah, I remember that. That was cool. Okay, so that's a really great way to think about it. Like you kind of learn the basics, but not the you learn the basics, but not the actual like specifics.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. So now you're learning the specifics of oil and things like that instead
Hmm.
of the water one, which you learned. And you were in your previous job for 10 years, right?
No, 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 no. It was
Oh,
only 6, because I
okay.
started in
That's right.
2015.
Okay.
2016. I
For
started
some
in
reason, I thought
2016.
it was 10 years.
No, it would have been weird if we had only known each other for 12 years and I've been there for 10.
That's true. I'm thinking about it now. My math is so okay. So you've been in there for 6 years
Yes,
and
6 years.
you recently just got a new job, which is really cool.
Literally, it's been like 2 months.
Yeah. And you are so pretty much your 20s was going through college, doing your first job, your first big boy job. And
Hmm.
now you're 32. What is the difference now working in that career field that you're 32 compared to when you first started?
Well, for starters, when I started this company and not knowing anything about this particular design, because I am predominantly working in steel design, and that's something that I never had done before. So even though I knew that I didn't know anything about it, I knew that it was something I wanted to do. And in comparison to when I originally started straight out of college, I went into my first career going, I don't know anything about this, and I don't even know if I can pick it up because it's completely foreign to me. Versus now, when I go in, I go, I don't know anything about this. This is completely foreign to me, but I know I will pick it up because I've done that before. I've done it many times before. I know what I'm capable of, and with that in mind, I know what my self-worth is, and I know what I can ask for when it came to going to this new company.
Oh my God, I love that because it's like you grew so much as a person that you knew what you wanted, you knew how to get it, and you knew the ways to do that. It's like your self-confidence just skyrocketed.
Hmm.
And your self-confidence in who you are and the things you know how to do, you're like, hell yeah, I could do that. Hell yeah, I could do this. Hell yeah, I could ask for this type of price when I'm looking for a job because I know my worth. Like that has to be something so empowering for you and so like amazing to see and to like feel that back then it wouldn't happen like that at all, right?
Yes, like when I first got hired on, it's just like, they give you this amount of money for your starting, right? And you go, oh, that sounds great. I don't know how that is in comparison to everybody else, but I'm getting my foot in the door, so I might as well go take it. But now it's like, I know what I'm capable of. I know that if it's something I don't know, I can learn it. And I know that I know what I'm worth because of those qualities. So I know that I can go, hey, this is what the average looks like for the industry for what I do based off of a lot of different websites and research I did myself. And so with that in mind, I feel like I should be able to ask for this amount of money. And especially in comparison to what I did before initially, and then how I can compare that to leveraging my previous employer, I should say. Because when you're doing that, you kind of have a lot more power, and it helps to be a little patient and understand everybody's sides, and that helps you be able to figure out, or that helps you to be able to ask for what you want.
That makes sense. So has your self-worth and how you feel about yourself transition into your own personal life from what you learned from your career and from work?
I would say so. For starters, because I know how I am and what I can do, I can better be there for other people. That is to say, my friends, my wife. I try my best to be the best person for her. And I think knowing what I'm capable of helps her more. If I'm not knowing of, or if I don't know what I'm capable of, especially after going through the first 6 years at that previous job, then I don't know if I'd be able to be there for her as well as I am today.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. And because now she just transitioned into a new career and a new job, it's kind of like you had that experience, so you could be there for her and you could help
Mm-hmm.
her kind of transition that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you're someone that's very thoughtful of other people more than yourself, I feel like.
Oh,
And
I try to still be there for myself because, you can best be there for others when you're
yeah.
very aware of your own self.
Mhm.
Like I said, when you're best aware of who you are and what you can do, that's when you can best be there for somebody else.
Right.
Which also
Yeah,
means, if you're not feeling great, don't be afraid to reach out to others for help, which I've
exactly.
done many times.
Yes, you have.
Wait, why'd you have to say it like that?
Well, it's just made me think if you so in a previous episode with Andrew, we talked about that as well, where it's like, when you're in an airport or in an airplane, you have to put the mask on yourself before putting a mask on someone else.
Hmm.
So being able to have that strong sense of you, of course, you could definitely pass that on. And you do that very well. And also, too, another thing about you that I think is so cool and so awesome is how well you meet new people and how much you became friends with new people and how you're a social butterfly. And so in college, you knew everyone. You knew like, come on, you knew everyone. Like you knew everyone in our building, you knew everyone in the
Well,
campus. Just like you introduced me to Jackie. And I know like things have changed through like the pandemic, things like that, but have you find that as you gotten older, is it easier for you to make friends now or harder for you to make friends now than it was back then? Or are you
um,
still kind of more I know we're kind of switch topics a little bit here,
no,
but
no, you're fine.
being in your 30s, did you find it was easy to make friends than it was in college or opposite?
I certainly think that the environment that we were in, helped a lot to making friends. Yes, I made friends with a lot of people in college. Yes, I got to know a lot of people in college, or at least, know who everybody was. But a lot of that was because of where we were. There was a lot of people around us on a daily basis. That said, where I am in my life, like I don't have a college campus that I go to every day, but I do have events and stuff that I go to. Like I go play Warhammer on a regular basis, and I've just about picked up everybody's names that go there on a regular basis, so I can get to know them all and actually become friends with them. And it's, oh, you're a regular here. I should get to know you next. But I would also say that the reason why that is, at least for me, I know that's not necessarily for everybody that was in my position, but being a military brat, I kind of had to learn how to make friends fast because, anybody, we were only ever at a duty station for 3 years. Mine was a special case because my parents wanted to stay in Japan after 3 more years. And then after 3 years, they said, "Can we stay again?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." So we ended up doing 9 years in Japan, and then we left and went back for 4 more. But just because I was there for 9 years the first time and the 4 years the second time doesn't mean that other people were. So throughout my 9 years, I say the 9 years because that was my longest gap. Throughout my 9 years there, anybody else that I knew was going to be leaving in 3. So I got really good at becoming friends with other people. I was like, yes, these are people that are going to be leaving, but that doesn't mean I can't try to be friends with the other people that are coming in. What's fun about that though, and I feel like this is definitely a plus side for a lot of, not just me, but a lot of military brats, is we were really, really good at picking up friendships where they were before. I could go, graduate with somebody, and part of at my ability and a lot of military brats' ability to be able to pick up friendships, it allowed us to, we graduate, we go our separate ways, and then we message each other or see each other because everybody goes to a different state. So it's literally like I got friends in every state, it feels like. I go
Yeah.
see them again, and it's just pick up exactly where we left off. It was hard for me. It's hard for me as a person to drift away from people. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
how many times in the years have I just gone long periods of time without talking to you? And it's just like,
Like never.
well, that's not true.
Maybe like I think there was a stretch where it was like 6 months, but that was like the longest.
Okay, like I remember our mutual friend Ashley. After we went study abroad to Japan. I actually went twice, and it was for a month. And I remember the time that I went with her. We hung out, we did a bunch of stuff together. The minute we got back, did not talk to each other at all. I think we were very burned out of each other. And I actually was legit a year that we did not talk to each other. And
Really? I
she's,
didn't know that.
yep, we did not talk to each other for a year. Not like we were avoiding each other. It was just like, you know, and still great friends with her.
Yeah.
I'm still chatting with her nowadays as well. In fact, next Friday I'm gonna be on her stream, on her Twitch stream.
You are?
I am.
Ooh, I have to put that in the show notes for people to see because that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, she's streaming Legend of Zelda, one of the multiplayer ones, the Four Swords Adventure, and I actually have a copy of it. So she's like, "Do you want to play with me?" And I was like, "All right, I'll
Are
be on your
you,
stream."
would you be able to watch that back if it's not live?
But yeah, the Twitch allows VODs to stay on the channel after they've been watched. So I don't remember how long it is because I'm not a Twitch savvy guy, but
Okay. Well, I will put that in the show notes for people who want to watch that and kind of hang out with you guys. So I'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, I think with us, it's been the most I could think of is like 6 months or so, like something around that time. But I know we've always kept in touch and talked all the time, and now we talk pretty much every single day.
I
So,
mean, I've got friends that I talk to on a regular basis that I haven't talked to for years, but I talk to on a regular basis now that I knew since 2006, 2007 in Germany.
wow, yeah. That's awesome. And I love that you brought that into your life now. And it does look different because of everything that's been happening and life is different. And now that we're older, we have to find friends in which we like. And like you said, you like to go to Warhammer. And
Hmm.
that's how you are starting to make friends, which is really cool. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily understand why I brought up that friendship path, but the friendship conversation. But it's really nice to see that, you stay true to yourself no matter what age you are at. You just kind of grow older, but you grow more confident and you grow more self-aware. I think of that's a good way to put it.
I think especially when you get in your 30s, that's when you probably know the most about yourself.
When you say 30s is the new 20s, but fun with more money.
I would say that, yeah, 30s and the new 20s. I would say that 30s is where you get to have fun with everything that you learned from your 20s
Mhm.
and more money.
I like that. So, Johnny, my last question for you is what advice, if you're watching on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel where all the videos are uploaded. If you're watching, you could see that little whatever that was. We were just being goofs. Goofy. Okay, you completely distracted me. All
I'll
right.
shut up. It's okay.
All right. What advice do you wish you had before you turned 30 about living in your 30s?
30s aren't as bad as everybody says it is. Everybody goes, oh no, 30 is the end of my youth, whatever. Like I said, 30 is when you get to use everything that you learned from your 20s to actually have fun and enjoy stuff and not give a crap. Like when I say not give a crap, I mean like don't worry about like what other people think about you as a person because you've already learned a lot about yourself. So you shouldn't have to worry about what other people think. And use that to enjoy 30s. Just don't ignore the fact that you'll probably max out your deductible every year like I have so far.
Jonathan.
It's not any fault of my own. It is my body starting to shut down as soon as I turn 30.
Yeah. Yeah. I like your advice a lot. That definitely has me thinking because I noticed too, like all the lessons I learned in my 20s, I'm like, I don't want to go through that shit again. I'm not gonna like sit here through this. Fuck no. And just kind of do things differently. And
Yeah.
it is a lot more fun. And you are more yourself. And it's just kind of like, I think 30s, after talking to so many people, you're living your best life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyone listening who stayed here to the end, thank you so much. And just know,
Why? No, just kidding. It's just me.
but you're cool too.
All right, fine.
For anyone that has been listening to this episode, thank you so, so much. And just remember that 30s are not end all be all. It is the best years of your life. And take with what you learned today and just go out there and do you. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Jonny.
You're welcome.
Hey friends, thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment to follow and review this podcast so it could reach others. Also, if you leave a review, I'll be sharing your review in the next episode. Lastly, if you want to be part of this growing podcast, chat about your life, your profession, passions, or if you have advice that you wish you had at 30, please sign up at the link provided in the show notes. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.